Hello everyone, good day. We are from the BPAD 2A. So for today's topic, we were going to discuss or tackle about the languages and literature in the Philippines. But before anything else, I just need to get you a heads up if what is a language. Now, a language is a system of communication which consists of a set of sounds and written symbols which are used by people of a particular country, origin of talking, or in a way of writing. So, for my topic, I'm going to discuss about the I'm going to discuss about the Philippine language now, which is started by Baybayin, followed by the Filipino orthography, Abacada alphabet, Filipino alphabet, and also the Spanish colonial period. Now let's start here. What is a Philippine language? What are those the Philippine language that we are used here in the Philippines as a Filipino? Now let's start a Philippine language. Now it is a native or inhabitant of the Philippines and also called a Filipino, and a language essentially the same as Tagalog that has been adopted as the official national language of the Philippines. Now, we use uh, Filipino or Filipino language in order as to be identified where which country or region uh, we are. And then we use the Tagalog here in Manila. Usually they use Tagalog as our secondary language, and it is an Austronesian language spoken as a first language. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a first language. I mean, and by the ethnic Tagalog people, because not all in the Philippines are used to speak in Tagalog, because there's some kinds of different places that they are also used their what we call it their first language. Okay, and then Tagalog people, and then who make a quarter of the population of the Philippines, and as a second language by the majority, it's a standardized form officially named Filipino. Now, Filipino, it is a person who speak Filipino language, and here in the Philippines. Then it is the national language of the Philippines also. It is one of the two official language alongside in English. Okay, let's start here in Baybayin. Now, Baybayin, also pronounced as Baybayin, and it is a formerly commonly and correctly known as Alibata, and it is a Philippine script. Now the script is an abugida belonging to the family of Brahmic scripts, and then geographically it was widely used in Luzon and other parts of the Philippines prior to during the 16th and 17th century before being replaced by the Latin alphabet. Now, during the period of Spanish colonialization, it was used in Tagalog language and at lesser extent than Kapampangan speaking areas. And it is used to spread Ilocanos in the early 7th century. In the 19th and 20th century, Baybayin survived and evolved into multiple forms and was used to create the constructed modern Kulitan script of the Kapampangan and the Ibalnan script of the Palawan people. Now, under the Unicode standard and ISO 15924, the script is encoded as the Tagalog block. Okay. The second one, we have our Filipino orthography. Now, Filipino orthography. When we say orthography, an orthography is a word from separated by spaces from other orthographic words, and in written text and in the corresponding forms in spoken language. Like example, she wanted the game. There, the six orthographic words are she wanted, and then to win the game, to win the and game. So that is the example of an orthography. Now, when it comes to Filipino orthography, it specifies the correct use of writing system of the Filipino language, and the nation and co-official language of the Philippines. Okay. And also we have here the Abacada alphabet. The Abacada alphabet was an indigenized Latin alphabet adopted for the Tagalog-based Filipino national language in 1940. And the alphabet, which is contains 20 letters, and was introduced in the grammar book developed by Loeb K. But the modern Filipino alphabet is made up to 28 letters, and the entire, which includes the entire 26 letters of the letter set of the ISO, and in basic Latin alphabet, the Spanish Nye, and the NG, added with the NG, then the digraph of Tagalog, and it replaced the Filipino Abacada alphabet of the Fourth Republic. Yeah, in here the alphabet which is contains with the letters, but what's introduced in the grammar book developed by the Loeb K. Centers for the newly designated national language based on Tagalog. Now the alphabet was officially adopted by the institution of the national language, and the Abacada alphabet has since been superseded by the modern Filipino alphabet adopted in 1987. Now here are hence the name Abacada from the first four letters of the alphabet. The Wikang Pambansa, the national language, was designated as Filipino in 1959. Then the alphabet was expanded to 31 letters. Now let's start in A, B, C, C, H, D, E, F, G, H, I, G, K, L, double L, M, N, and then Nye, N, J, O, P, Q, R, double R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And also we have here the Filipino alphabet or Alphabetong Filipino. Now the modern Filipino alphabet o Filipino makabagong Alphabetong Filipino, otherwise known as the Filipino alphabet. Now is it the alphabet of the Filipino language, the official national language and one of the two official languages of the Philippines. The modern Filipino alphabet is made up of 28 letters, and which is included the entire 26 letters of the set of the ISO basic Latin alphabet, and the Spanish Nye and the NG diagram of Tagalog. It replaced the Filipino Abacada alphabet, the Fourth Republic. Now today, the modern Filipino alphabet may also be used to write all autochthonous languages of the Philippines and Chavacano, Spanish-derived Creole. And an alphabet is a set of letters or symbols in a fixed order used to represent the basic sounds of a language, and in particular the set of letters from A to up until to Z. So the last one you have here, the Spanish colonial period. Spanish occupied the Philippines in the early 15th century, and the first Filipino alphabet is Alibata, and when Spanish colonial what Alibata ito is belong in Baybayin, and Alibata when it was the Spanish colonialized Philippines, and they changed Alibata into Roman alphabet. And then Spanish banned the use of Alibata because they believe that it is a work of evil. And so Spanish fully introduced the Spanish literary language using many Spanish terms like Chavacano. And also, the European literature was brought by the Spaniards and are assimilated in Filipino songs and indigenous themes. The early printing press in the Philippines is run and monopolized by the Spaniards friars. During the Spanish colonization, Filipinos felt that they being harassed by the Spaniards, and then the birth of propaganda movement and La Solidaridad. Then the Filipino thought or fought and introduced Tagalog to be the language of revolution of the nationalist movement. And that would be the part of the literature that under in the Spanish colonial period. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eman Lopez from BPED 2A. So, my topic is oral literature. Um, what is oral literature? So, oral literature, it is a folk culture, is a genre of literature that is spoken or sung as opposed to that which is written. Through much oral literature has been transcribed and meaning oral literature, it is performed art which in most cases uses spoken words as a medium of communication. So, these are the examples of oral literature. So, first is song. So, songs a song is composition for voice or voices performed by which singing. A choral or vocal song may be accompanied by musical instruments or it may be accompanied, as in the case of cappella songs, the lyric or words of songs are typically of a poetic, rhyming nature, though they may be religious verses or free prose. So, meaning, song, it plays a very general role in oral culture. A song's words often resemble lyric poetry, having to I mean having to be of a tight metrical structure because of the musical accompaniment. So here the example of song. So, example of song during the oral literature is um Leron Leron Sinta. So Leron Leron Sinta, this song depicts humbleness. It's the story of a man who tries to show what he got to win the heart of his beloved one. So, Leron Leron Sinta, it is a classic work song that is believed to have originated in the provinces and was traditionally sung during the papaya harvest season. This song, though it by a man and woman, where the man expressed his feelings to the woman to win his heart of his beloved one. And the next example is Sarumbange. So, Sarumbange, a kondeman which means one night or one evening in Bicol. A kondeman is a Filipino love song traditionally sung by a man wooing the woman of his dreams. So, Sarumbange, um, it is composed by Potenciano Gregorio. And Sarumbange came about when Putin woke up in the middle of night to the chirping of a bird and the rustling of the leaves. The next is religious drama. So, religious drama as settings for events recorded in the Bible or moral lessons to be drawn from religious teaching is distinctively medieval in character and in origin is closely connected with the services of the church. So, religious drama is a panunulagan or Tagalog for asking for lodgings, is a Philippine narrating the Holy Family search for a place uh, to stay in Bethlehem for Jesus Christ's birth through song. So Christmas dramatic ritual. And drama is the specific mode of fiction represented in performance. The in the enactment of drama in theater performed by actors on a stage before an audience presupposes collaborative modes of production and a collective form reception. And the next one is Bakit Babae ang Naghugas ng Pinggan? In English, Why Women Wash the Dishes is a play that depicts a bearing game between couple whom either one would not like to wash the dishes. The play is filled with a humor and antiques. So, bakit babae ang naghugas ng pinggan? Isa itong uri ng komedya na napatungkol sa dalawang mag-asawang, I mean, um, ito ay patungkol sa dalawang um, tamad, um, tamad at pasaway na mag-asawa. And the next one is written report. I mean, written literature. Written literature, it is a body of written works that name has traditionally been applied to those imaginative works of the poetry and prose, distinguished by the intentions of their authors and the perceived aesthetic excellence of their execution. So, example of written literature is poetry. So, poetry is an imaginative awareness of experience expressed through meaning, sound, and rhythmic language choices so as to evoke an emotional response. Poetry has been known to employ meter and rhyme, but this is by no means necessary. The very nature of poetry is an authentic and individual mode of expression makes it nearly impossible to define. So one of the example of poetry is Florante at Laura. Florante at Laura, the story is about the love determination of Duke Florante and the Princess Laura of Albania while being pursued by the usurper Count Adolfo. So, Florante at Laura is one of the example of poetry. Florante at Laura is an 1838 awit written by Tagalog poet Francisco Balagtas. It is considered one of the masterpieces of the Philippine literature. Excuse me. Next is short stories. A short story is a brief work of literature, usually written in a narrative prose. A classic definition of a short story is that one should be able to read in one sitting. So one of the example of short story is Convex Twilight. The short story revolves around wanting freedom, or more clearly, it seeks to define what is freedom and what sense it makes to those who are not free, slave for the atonement of their sin. So, the short story revolves around wanting freedom, or more clearly, it seeks to define what is freedom and what sense it makes those who are not free, slave for the slave for the atonement of their sins. That's all. Thank you.
Rizal and his contemporaries. So we all know, or we knows Filipinos the identities of Jose Rizal because he is considered one of the national heroes of the Philippines. He started studying in UST taking up the medicine course. So then he studied in Europe. He was the most prominent advocate for reform in the Philippines during the Spanish colonial era. He was wrongly implicated as the leader of the Katipunan Revolution, and that led to his execution on December 30, 1896, now celebrated as Rizal Day, a national holiday in the country. So Rizal was a multifaceted intellectual and a political activist. So best known for his political writings that inspired the Filipino or that inspired the Filipino citizen to create a revolution towards the Spanish colonizers. So before Jose Rizal executed or died, he created a poem entitled Mi Ultimo Adios. So this poem was one of the last notes he wrote before his death. So another that he had written was found in his shoe, but because the text was illegible, its contents remains a mystery. So Mi Ultimo Adios, it is a poem that tells us how beautiful the Philippines is and how Rizal wants us to learn from our past and to see the truth about how the world view us. So next we will going to proceed with the another first important first person, which is Marcelo H. Del Pilar. So he is the father of Philippine journalism. So he was celebrated figure in the Philippine Revolution and a leading propagandist for reforms in the Philippines. So popularly known as Plaridel. He was the editor and co-publisher of La Solidaridad, the Solidarity. So Marcelo H. Del Pilar, he worked to destroy the friars or the Spaniards' authority and influence on the country's affairs. So next, the Dasalan at Toksoman. So this is a satire on the friars' hypocrisy, licentiousness, and greed, which consists of parodies of the sign of the cross, the let of contrition, the Lord's Prayer, the Hail Mary Catechism, and the result considers this as a model of classical prose and an excellent example of Tagalog humor, wit, and sarcasm. So the last one, which is the founder of the Katipunan, which is Bonifacio, or also known Andres Bonifacio. So again, he was a founder and later supremo of the Katipunan movement, which sought the independence of the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule and started the Philippine Revolution. So Bonifacio declared the Philippine independence in 1896 in the wake of the execution of his hero and mentor Jose Rizal. So this poem was first published in the Diaryong Tagalog. As the title indicates, the theme is directed to Filipinos in order to arouse the spirit of nationalism and self-discipline. Thank you.
So, good evening everyone. My topic is literature under American colonial period. So, literature American period is the colonial period of American literature spans that between the founding of the first settlement at Jamestown to outbreak of the Revolution. The writings of this theme-centered, religious, practical, or historical themes. So that is literature American colonial period. It is a historical themes. So under of this American colonial period is Tagalog novel, romantic poetry, short stories, and beginning of the Philippines literature in English. So first is the Tagalog novel. So what is Tagalog novel? Tagalog novel is a long prose narrative that describes fictional characters and events in the form of sequential story. Usually, a Tagalog novel is a Tagalog written in, of course, Tagalog. So, the example of it is Banaang at Sikat. Is one of the first literary novels written by Filipino author Lope K. Santos in Tagalog language in 1906 as a book that was considered as the Bible of the working class Filipino. The pages of the novel revolves around the life Delphine, his love for daughter rich landlord while Lope K. So that is Tagalog novel. Let's proceed to romantic poetry. So romantic poetry is the dominant theme of romantic poetry, that filtering of a national emotion through the human mind of order to create art coupled with awareness of the quality created by such as process. So romantic poetry, example, Pag-ibig ni Jose Corazon de Jesus. Jose Corazon de Jesus was Filipino poet who used Tagalog poetry to express Filipinos' desires and independence during American occupation of the Philippines. The period lasted from 1901 to 1946. He was the best known for being lyricist of the Filipino song Bayan Ko. So, short story. Short story is a brief work of literature, usually written of narrative prose. A classic definition of the short story is the one should be able to read in a setting. So that is a short story. So we Filipino are mild drinkers. That is a short story written by during the freshman year of Arizona State University. So that is a sample of short story that written by Alejandro Rojas. That is a mild drinker. He was well known for a humorous story that within writing. We Filipinos are mild drinkers is dated back to 1940s. So, beginning of the Philippine literature in English. Philippine literature in English by 1901, public education was institutionalized in the Philippines with English serving the medium of instruction. That year around go educators in SS to mass top English pleasure soldiers who had been serving the first teachers. So, how my brother Leon brought home a wife. So that is the example of beginning of the Philippine literature in English. A story is all about occasion that would be big day in the life of any family. The day one who the sons of the family brings hope the woman he instead marry. The story is told the first person by Leon's young daughters. So that was the topic of how my brother Leon brought home a wife. So that is my topic about literature under American colonial period. So that's all. Thank you.